Hello, 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 everyone. This is your host, Diamond J with Beyond the Glitter, and we are live with my guest, Crystal Carmen. So I'm super excited to have my guest on the show. You guys are really, really in for some gems that she's about to drop. So I'm super excited about that. And we're just going to get right into it. Crystal Carmen is a survivor of human trafficking. She has channeled her resilience into a beacon of hope and empowerment. Today, she's a proud owner of the spa dedicated to fostering and healing restoration for others. Beyond her spa endeavors, she has authored a groundbreaking dating book, empowering women to love themselves and navigating relationships with high caliber men, successfully, I'm sorry. Through her experiences and expertise, she aims to inspire others to reclaim their worth and live boldly. So, welcome, Carmen.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I just kind of wanted to thank you again for being on the show. Actually, so super excited that Rob connected us together and we were able to
Yes,
have this opportunity, right?
yes.
So networking is so good. Networking is really, really good. A lot of people sleep on that networking. So I'm super excited to have you here. So if you would please get into who you are, what you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm definitely multifaceted, but so my main thing is that I own a spa called Vanity Image Studio, and I help women feel beautiful. And I mean, it's empowering, inspiring. I'm also a content creator for Facebook. So I produce what I hope is funny and entertaining, but also educational content. I'm a
Right?
foodie. So every now and then I'll post things about food. I love to cook. That's like my
Mhm.
passion, if you will. Um, and then, so I do that. And then, most recently, at least the last 2 years of my life, I have been working with women, generally women who are surviving generational trauma
Okay.
or who are successful business women who have been able to manage every other aspect of their life except their relationships.
Okay, good, good, good. Well, I see that you got the memo. You know, Uh,
Yeah. It was a, what do you call it? It was a group text.
so yeah, I see
this,
that
this is me.
you
I'm the
got the
cat woman.
memo. Yes, 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 yes. So absolutely, that's great that you started with you the spa. That was something that I've always wanted to do
And you
myself,
still
but never.
can.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to talk. We're definitely gonna have to talk. So tell me a little bit about the book. You have the book called "Girl, You Need a Drink."
Girl, you need a drink. Yes. So, how to summarize this book would basically be it's the cheat code for not just dating, but seeking out and dating like good men. Like you know how every woman's like, I just want a good man. I just want a like a loyal man. I just want a man who, is a hard worker and is respectful and kind. And
Right.
so I thought about all of the things that women actually seek. Now, not all women, because I don't want to get attacked here, but generally are
Yeah.
seeking and desire. Not what they say they desire, what they actually desire. And I narrowed it down to a couple of things. And that is they're looking for a man who is driven. A man who is driven, it doesn't matter what he does because he's always going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Driven, a man
Right.
who's receptive, because there can be a man who's leading, but if he's not receptive to any input that's coming along the way, then that's totalitarian. And then there's no room for an alternative perspective to be considered, which could put the whole in peril. Then
Okay.
there's intelligent, and intelligence encompasses both in an educational concept, and whether that be book smart or street smart, because I don't believe that one means the other. Like
Mm-hmm.
it has to be one or the other, because I did not complete my education, but there's still things that I'm well read on. Um,
Right.
and an emotional IQ. So, is he emotionally intelligent? Can he sense that this is not the right time to say this or do this? Or can he create direction and allow people or get people to follow his lead without being obnoxious or rude or impolite?
Mm-hmm.
Then we have noble. So a nobleman is someone who's respectable, who is a stand-up kind of guy, does the right thing, generally respected by his colleagues as well as his peers.
Got it.
And kind, because kindness is crucial to interpersonal relationships. It's
Right.
not necessarily that you can't be firm, but can you be kind to others? If you see someone struggling, will you be like to cross the street? Will you help? If
Mm-hmm.
somebody finds a weight too heavy to bear, will you lend a hand?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Noble, and then the K.
oh, I'm sorry, that's the kind,
Okay. Okay. Got
noble
it.
and kind. Yeah, I did them together.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. Sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, so for those of that are watching, Girl, You Need a Drink is an acronym of driven, receptive, intelligence, noble, and kind. So yes, honey, we do need that drink. We
Right,
need that drink. A tall chocolate dark one, right?
tall
We
drink.
need right. So actually, the book actually tell me how you got that book and how it correlates with the human trafficking, and how did you get to that? How did that book inspire you to get where you are because of what you've been through? How did that happen?
So in order for me to take you to the book, I got to start at the beginning.
Okay.
And so, well, let's just go over what the point of the book is. So the book is not a traditional, like, okay, these are just the signs or red flags. Like, it really covers some of the core things that drinks are looking for, but
Mm-hmm.
also that we are looking for, but may
Right.
not understand why we're looking for it, or that we're looking for it at all.
Okay.
And so that's that, there's that. And I hate to use a term that's become so cliche, but leaning into your femininity,
Right.
and just on, basically doing things as your authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if your authentic self isn't feminine, this doesn't apply to you. Okay, but
Right. Right.
a large number of women do, like, their authentic self is very feminine, very sort of wanting to lean in and be soft and girly, if you will. And I don't mean girly like pink things and all of that. That's not what I'm referring to. Um,
Right.
but flirtatious and you know
Right.
friendly and not worrisome. Fun is the word, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and so it's hard for, I feel, women to be fun all the time when we have so much that is kind of put on us, or that we put on ourselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're held to like a different standard. And then, some of the stressors, especially like when women are career oriented, like myself,
Right.
oftentimes more is added to our plate, right? So I get to be a career woman plus the mom, plus the housekeeper, plus the chef, plus the non-physical mental tasks like birthday parties, gifts for your mother, gifts for your
Right.
grandmother,
Right.
doctor's appointments, all of that. Sweet 16s, prom. When
Right.
men get more success, women like to take off their plates. Oh,
Yes.
he's worked all night. He don't have to do that. I'll do that. You know,
Right.
he's doing this,
Uh-huh.
so I'll do this. And we take on more.
Mm-hmm.
So the book is really about understanding the balance of that, and understanding the kind of like back and forth pull. And so what I found when I opened the spa is that when women were left alone with me for
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 hours with a procedure. So we basically specialize in eyebrows. And so
Okay.
there's a numbing process, consultation, there's a couple of steps.
Absolutely.
They were comfortable and they would let their guard down. Not that I was telling them to do this, but
Right, right.
and then they would start asking me questions or, hey, what do you think about this situation? Or, oh my God, that was my boyfriend on the phone and this is what he's doing. Or I would hear them on speakerphone and the way that the men would talk to them, or some of them would cry, like see a text message and start crying right in front of
Wow.
me. And I love that people felt comfortable enough with me to do that. But I started paying attention because
Uh-huh.
I think sometimes something could be right in front of your face and you don't realize it. So anyway, these women were sharing stories of hurt. The more abusive the relationship was, the more I became confident the woman had gone through some sort of trauma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this reminded me of my previous poor interpersonal relationships and
Right.
or relationships period, and why it would seem for a short while that I was almost dating the same person in a different body.
Wow.
And at some point I realized that if these comments keep coming up, then the common denominator is me. And so I did some self introspection and
Mm-hmm.
realized that a lot of my triggers and behaviors were from what happened to me when I was younger.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that has helped with a lot of women because I'm sure that you're able to relate to some of the things that you have been through their
Absolutely.
traumas and through their, as they're laying down or, they're there and they're talking to you. So you're able to relate to some of those things. How was that experience and how were you able to get anybody to safety? Were you able to get anybody that was like, hey, I'm trying to leave, Were you able to get anybody like that?
So I didn't encounter anyone that was being, trafficked. However, there were situations where women were being abused and did leave. There
Mm-hmm.
were situations where women were having extra, like a relationship with a man who was having an extramarital affair. And I would tell them, like, you're worth more than this, right?
Right.
Like, and they would just look at me and I'm like, no, seriously, like you are. Others had been longing to leave really bad
Mm-hmm.
scenarios, and it seemed like they just really needed permission.
Yeah.
And that comes from trauma as well.
Yeah.
And so I would say, do you want permission? You have permission to be happy. Like you have
Right.
permission to go.
Right. That's really good. That's really
Yeah.
good. And so you said that actually leads you to what happened to you, right? So
Right.
that leads you to what happened. Give us a little bit of your story. How did this human trafficking happen? What happened to you? And because I think we're all on pins and needles. Like, man, what happened to this woman? Because it's not often that you meet someone who has been human
Correct.
trafficking, right? So give us
Yeah.
that.
So first I just want to start this by saying the number one myth about human trafficking is that it only happens in third world countries.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't true. When I was kidnapped, I was quite literally in the middle of New York City.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one. Two,
Uh-huh.
people think that human trafficking only occurs when someone is impoverished. We were not impoverished. We were middle class. I lived in a
Mm-hmm.
private home, and I was in Catholic school at the time. So that is also not true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the third part is that human trafficking occurs from a stranger. That is also not true. So I knew the person who inevitably sold me to someone else.
Okay.
She was someone I trusted. So I'll tell you what happened. So I was at the time I was around like the tail end of being 13 years old, and I used to go back and forth from my school, walking to from home after school. And unfortunately, during one of those trips, a gentleman, like a grown man, tried to be inappropriate with me. I was scared, and so I ran. And when I ran into this other gentleman, and he was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's wrong?" He could see that I was distressed. And I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
this guy was trying to, like, do something to me or whatever." And then he was like very protective and was like, "Oh my God, look, I know it's gonna be weird because like I'm a guy, so I have a female friend like 2 houses down, like come with me with her." And she was outside, so we talked, and she was, telling me it was gonna be okay and sort of like calming me down and
Mhm.
nurturing me, if you will, like trying to get me to feel safe again because of what just happened.
Right.
Hindsight being 2020, I wonder if I was set up from the
Yeah, I
beginning.
was going to ask that. Did you think that you were set up? Because, yeah.
Now, yes, I could look at that and go, this situation isn't it was too convenient. But anyway, that's what happened. And so I trusted her. I started to trust her because she was making sure I was safe and saying she was gonna look for this guy. And the other gentleman was like, "Oh, I have a baseball bat if he comes around," and so I felt protected.
Right.
So, as I would walk home from school a day, after that, she would find little reasons to sort of pull me aside and,
Hmm.
"Oh, like, can you stay on the front porch with my kids? I have to run to the corner store." And then she'd be back in like 5 or 10 minutes, no big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then I would go about my business, and then this would continue, and then it would get the favors got longer, and then it was like, "Oh, like, come with me down here, my friend's, house in the basement, and watch the kids for a little bit." And then nothing would happen. I was never around a whole bunch of guys. There was like no kind of weird stuff going on.
Right.
And then one day she says, "Hey, I have to go to the city for something, but the guy that I'm gonna meet up with, like, he talks a lot," or like I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically it ended up being that she needed me to go there to basically give him a reason that she had to get home.
Right. Right.
Um, and so I just want to stop right there to say, like, that was an adult asking a child for help. Hindsight being
Mhm.
2020, that was a red flag.
That was the red flag.
Okay, so I'll
But you're
continue.
only 13 and 14, right?
Right,
Okay.
right. So I get to well, I say that because there's a concept I'll bring up later. So I get going to the train station. I do not at this point know how to take the train. Like, this isn't like something I do without my mother. So
Right.
we get into the train station, we get to downtown, and she's standing there. We're in traffic. She meets up with the guy, and there is a corner store. I can actually I could paint you the scene. But I'm standing there. I have Mary Jane's on, ankle socks, and I'm just like looking at the traffic flow, waiting for this lady to hurry. And she says, "Hey, um, can you stay with him 1 second? I don't want him to think I'm leaving. I'm gonna run to or not like leaving, but like I'm just basically like she was leaving me there to keep him company when she ran to the store. So she
Hmm.
goes to the store supposedly to buy us beverages, but this is after he's given her money for the store, and he's given her, at the time, I viewed it as a lot of money.
Right.
I later learned that it was $300, but
Mm.
so he gives her $300, and then I watch her. She's taking too long at the store, and I make comment about that to him. And so we both look at the store at the corner, and I watch her jump into a New York City cab
Wow.
without me. And so at that point, I'm like, "Where's she going?" And I
Hmm.
turned my head, and they grabbed me by my head and ducked me into the back of a car, and they drove me to New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so while you were there, while you were taken, right? They've taken you.
Mhm.
Um, were they abusive? Were they? doing
Um,
anything to you? How was that experience the time that you were held?
so the person who was holding me captive um, wasn't necessarily like physically abusive, but I was made clear to me that I needed to behave in order to maintain that. Um, they take you to, well, they took me to some undisclosed location. I can't remember it. I don't know where it was. I don't know what town it was. I just know I was in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's somebody pretty much prepares you to look like a woman, like look grown up. If
Okay.
you and you witness abuse. And I quickly learned that if you pretty much play along with them, then you will not get to the other levels, like basically being abused or raped by your owner or
Mm-hmm.
um, on drugs.
Mm-hmm. So did they solicit you to
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
they do. They take you to Washington D.C. with political people. Yeah,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
great.
Yeah. And then with that, you were able to escape.
Yes.
How was that when you were able to escape? Because I can imagine, what were you feeling and how did you know like this is the moment, this is the time that I can get away? Like, were you unsupervised? How did you actually get away?
I tried to escape 3 times actually. Well, yeah.
Mm,
So the first time was at a rest stop. So I was at a rest stop and I had to use the bathroom. I was being brought interstate, and I had to use the bathroom, and I went to use the bathroom. And men and women, they can't go in. Back then, you couldn't have that. Like a man wasn't going in the woman's
right,
bathroom.
right.
So I was in the women's bathroom and sort of trying to look around to see if I could see someone that looked or felt like I could trust them. You have to
Hmm.
understand that the person who set me up was a woman. So this was incredibly difficult for me.
Right.
Was I going to put myself in a worse situation?
Hmm.
And so I was able to ask a woman for a quarter so I could call my mother.
Okay.
At this point, I still remembered my mother's phone number. So I went to the payphone. Like I kind of tried to mix in with a crowd, and I got to
Hmm.
the payphone. And before the phone could like finish ringing, he clicked the line, and so he knew that I was at the phone. So that
Yeah.
was my attempt one. Attempt two, I was in Manhattan somewhere, Harlem, I think, and he had left me with someone like that was essentially like a babysitter for the taken.
Hmm.
And interestingly enough, she didn't realize that my mom didn't know that I was there. So
Hmm.
I said, "Hey, if I don't call my mom, if I don't call my mother within a certain number of days, she's going to think something's wrong. So I have to call." And so she fell for it, and
Wow.
I got a call in to my mom, and my mom said, "Crystal," I like she started crying, and she was like, "We thought you were dead. Like, is everything? Are they holding you against your will?" Because my mom knew I would never leave home like that,
Right.
and
Right.
I said, "Yes." And she asked me, "What are they doing to you?" And I said, they're trying to prostitute me."
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
she called the police department because I was a missing person. So she called the police department and they traced the phone back, but they could only trace it, I think, within a 10 block radius, and they couldn't find me.
Wow. So did the lady listen to the conversation where she was
I
like,
said it in Spanish.
yeah.
But at some point she did get the hint that something was a little weird. But she didn't end the call. Like the call ended with me basically staying on long enough. My mom was like, "Well, where are you? Can you tell me anything about where you are?" And At the time, I didn't know enough Spanish and remember enough Spanish to do that. I speak fluently now.
Yes, yes, yes. That's
But yeah,
good.
I got enough in for her to know what was happening to me and that I wasn't there of my own accord.
Right. Good deal. And then the third time.
So the third time, oh man. So the third time, I don't know how else to explain this, but to say that something outside of myself knew that this person was the person. And he was driving by and I flagged him down and I pretty much said, like, whatever it is you want, fine, but I need you to take me to the train station because um, I'm being held against my will and I'm only
Mhm.
13 still or 14, I told him. Because at this
Right.
point, I was gone for a while and I didn't know how long I'd been gone. And he was he was appalled by it and he was upset and appalled and he just said, no way. First of all, like, let's get you out of the rain. Let's get you something to drink. He got me a hot chocolate. It's probably why I like coffee shops so much, but he took me to a coffee shop and he got me a hot chocolate and he put his jacket around me. And I
Yeah.
remember how kind that was. And
Yeah.
then said, where do you live? I'm not putting you on the train. I need to take you to your mother. And I said where I lived. And he had no idea how to get there. And he said, I've never really driven outside of Manhattan, but I am
Wow.
going to figure it out. And he would drive, he drove a couple of blocks and he would ask somebody, how do I get here? And he continued to do that for hours. I think it might have taken 4 hours to get from New York to Queens at this point. And but he did, and he dropped me off at in front of my mother's house, and she saw it from her window and came down and almost like passed out on her knees. Like she fell on her knees.
Yeah.
And I remember the last words he said to me was, how do I get back to the highway? Yeah.
Like there was no maps,
No,
no
no.
none
Like
of that.
no, there was no GPS. At least not if you weren't exorbitantly wealthy, I could imagine.
Right, right, right. That's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing
You're
that
welcome.
story. It's so amazing. I'm thank God that you were able to get out safely. Your endurance that you were there, or you kept against your will, was how long?
8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. If you guys have any questions, if you have any questions for Crystal, please let us know. She is a survivor of human trafficking, so definitely let us know if you have any questions about her story or anything like that. I love how you are able to take what has happened to you and you're actually putting that into the book because you realize how many women are actually going through all these things and they want that drink, that drink you just said, they want that drink, right? They want that.
Love that.
And I love how you made that acronym for the drink, for the man. And girl, you need a drink because yes,
Right.
we do, right? I absolutely love that about that. So definitely appreciate you telling the story and going from there. Can
Now I
you
want to.
tell?
Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to give because I did not just create that on my own. So I did create that with my fiance Ryan, and we did that together. He actually helps me during my sessions to bring a male perspective to our relationship and dating coaching.
I absolutely love that because I think that that is very important when you have a male's perspective because a lot of times we don't think like men, and
Right.
to have that perspective is really really good. I actually had a long conversation today with a male perspective, right? And we're talking about, oh no, I don't see it like that. I see it like this, you know. So
Right.
it's really good to have that male perspective. I even had the guest that was on last night who actually did the same thing about her book and having a beta, and she had 17 men read her book so that she can kind of get the male perspective. So it is very important that you actually bring that male perspective in. So I
Right.
love that your fiance does that. So absolutely. Um, with that, I know we talked about how women talk about. Let me see. They talk about the what's going on. Tell me a little bit about what you did with the Paint the Runway, right?
Right. So Pink the Runway was a show that was developed out of a need to bring awareness to the lack of size inclusion in the luxury market. Um,
Mm.
I am somebody who has been in love with the fashion community literally my whole life. Um,
Hmm.
I love all of the stories, like all of the designers from urban to our classic iconic brands.
Yeah.
And one of the things that started happening when I got older is that I sized out of luxury. And so I would have this taste and this style that I really couldn't express myself with
Uh-huh.
because there wasn't anything to do it with. And then I started basically having to piece together things and shop in places that had nice clothes. There wasn't, they had nice clothes, but they didn't have Crystal Carmen clothes. They
I love
didn't,
it.
they didn't have
Yeah.
clothes that really allowed me to express myself the way that I enjoy expressing myself. Um,
Hmm.
and I created my own style, and I was limited. And I little by little I started to see that I wasn't the only one. To this day, I went to the King of Prussia Mall,
Okay.
and it's a mall I live by. And in that mall, there are two stores that cater to my size. It is a massive, massive mall.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
even when you go into those stores, no shade, but Torrid, is one of them. And it's like 90% of the clothing is not my style. So
Right. Right.
So, and then you have the opposite where I would love to shop independent boutiques, but everything's made out of, unfortunately, really thin fabrics that do not necessarily, they look great on the girl in the picture, but are
Right.
not
Right.
necessarily something I would feel comfortable wearing, or having or missing so many pieces of
Hmm. Hmm.
cloth that I don't know where I would wear one.
Right. What do you wish? What do you wish to moving forward? Like, what do you want to see for Crystal Carmen, and how do you want to contribute to the world?
So the first thing that I want to see is, for heaven's sakes, I don't know, maybe a brand ambassadorship with a company who can actually take advice from the plus size woman who wears them.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
want to see better fashion and better options for us that are more affordable. Not everybody who's plus size is loaded. So it'd be nice to be able to buy affordable garments that are not hideous or that require a lot of adaptation to make suitable for us. Like to this day, I have a chain belt. I had to buy two of the chain belts, take out pliers, disconnect some of them, and make them together to create a belt for myself. It's
Right.
2024. Why is this
Right.
a thing?
And the
So,
average woman is 14. Average size is 14 and
right.
up. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on?
So there's that. And there are a lot of brands that do make, I don't want to make it sound like there's none, but either they get the style wrong or they get the price point wrong. So so there's that. The second part though, which is hugely important, is that I want to help women live their best life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have a relationship, but if they
Right.
are going to have one, that they are choosing men or whomever, women who complement who they are, who
Hmm.
who are in love with them and not the facade or who they have to present to
Absolutely.
society, and to be their authentic self. So part of this book and all of these things coming to a head, if you will, is my desire to live authentically and to live unapologetically. Um,
Right.
so I apologize when I'm wrong, and I take accountability for things that I
Hmm.
have done or haven't done. Um,
Hmm.
then I want women to be able to look inside themselves and say, this is who I am. This is probably not going to change in the near future. And yes, these are areas I need to improve in, but I'm still good right here.
Right.
And
Right.
then how do I attract goodness here? Not just from
Mm-hmm.
men, but from friends. We have a lot of toxic friendships that we need to
Right.
let go of. We have a lot of self-talk that
Yeah.
needs to go. We allow
Yeah.
things from our children that we shouldn't. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's because we are so used to being in this, I'm the superwoman, so I gotta save everybody's feelings. I gotta pay for this. My daughter asked me for this. My son asked me for that. My man's asking me for this, but he hasn't put a ring on it.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
It's like we're providing the protection that we should be provided.
Absolutely. We talk about the relationships and as they're pertaining to narcissists
Mm.
and being able to say, a lot of people are talking about narcissists. It's just become a common term. It's just become a common term. How do you relate that to what you've been through and the
Well,
strength that you've gone through? How do you relate that?
so while I am not a psychologist, I am in school for psychology. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a doctor, but I will say this. First of all, there's a overuse of the term narcissist, right?
Yes.
And so what I'm finding is a lot of women are using narcissist to describe a man who is pretty much just a jerk.
Right.
Okay. It's not necessarily that he's narcissistic, more than he either doesn't agree with what it is that they want to do, or if you look deeper into it, like it'll be a guy who told her it wasn't going anywhere, but he's acting like he's the boyfriend, so now she's upset that that's not the case, and then now he's the jerk.
Right.
Or maybe he said some jerky things or
Mm-hmm.
things. But a narcissist is basically someone who uses people pretty much for narcissistic supply. They need you to feel validated. They need others to feel validated, and they will be attracted to the light. People with light
Mm-hmm.
love that, so that
Right.
they can dim you, so that they can feel like they're shining brighter than you. They do not know themselves. They do not love themselves. They cannot feel complete ever. It's like trying to
Right.
fill a bucket with a hole in it.
Right.
And so they're only satisfied when they have gotten you to a place where you feel like you can't live without them, or you're
Mm-hmm.
nothing without them. And then they win. And then now, once they have you in that position, now it's off to the next source of supply, because you're
Mm-hmm.
not really a human, you're a light bulb, you're a battery for them.
Absolutely.
And that's usually why they can discard you so quickly. So why that ties into what I'm doing and my book and the coaching, the relationship and dating side is, unfortunately, women who have experienced trauma or abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
mental abandonment, abuse, SA, things like that. Um,
Right.
they unfortunately are more likely to be re-victimized.
Mm.
Okay. So that's one. Two, if they're a woman of color, Latina, Black, they're even
Mm-hmm.
more likely, unfortunately, to be re-victimized, because they are the least likely to seek psychological help and support.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. And
Right.
so what I'm trying to do is um, help women identify what it is that they want, what it is like actually want, not
Mm-hmm.
what sounds great,
Right.
not what sounds great to people, but what they actually want. I know a lot of women who will tell you online all day that they don't need a man. And when they're out
Right.
with me for brunch, will tell you things that make you believe otherwise.
Right. Right.
So I think what they mean is, I don't want a man to control me.
Right.
But a good man doesn't need to control you. You'll
Right.
want to control yourself.
And you know that is really a good point that you bring up, because even a good man is going to bring out in you, like you were talking about. It's going to bring out in you and allow you to be that feminine woman that you were meant to be, right? It's going to allow you to be that way. That way you don't even have to fight. There's no fighting. There's none of that really when you meet that person that has that, because they're able to bring that out of you.
And yeah, and I definitely agree that they can inspire it. But here's the interesting part. It was always there. You always had it.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah,
always there. When you were a little girl, that's when you had it. When you
right.
wanted to be protected and provided for and proclaimed and
And
preserved.
violated.
You know, that's when that you always had it. And then what happens is you have to not have it so you can be a strong person. And so I stopped identifying as a strong woman. I'm not a strong woman.
Me too.
Nobody comes to
No,
help the strong. You ever go help the strong?
no, no.
So it's like, I'm tired of that. I don't want to do that. I
Right,
did that. I'm good at it,
right,
but I'm done.
right. Exactly,
You
exactly.
know, and I get to do that like now, and I get to do it. He loves doing it, and women and men around us love seeing it.
Yeah,
And they talk, I mean, people talk about it. Like they will go, how do I get that? Or where did you find this? Or and it's there's no secret to it. There's not like a little secret place you go to find it. Like you
right.
got it. You just are not narrowing it down. And dare I say, unfortunately, not just women, men too, put more effort into their education,
Mm-hmm.
their jobs. See, you know, when you go for a job, right? You got a resume, you go get
Right,
yourself something nice to wear, you pick out a nice outfit, you go do
right.
some company research, find out what the company is about, what you could
Yep.
say, all
The
of this,
culture, all of that.
and all this. If they say you need a degree in a specific career, what are you doing?
You're
Education,
gonna do it. Yep.
you putting in 4 years work on to get
Right.
a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
But the person that you're going to be with and share your body and your spirit and your mind with and your goals with, you did what? A little bit of searching on Plenty of Fish. Like,
Right.
so I'm trying to help women, you know, treat their love lives like it's a part of their life, because then you just cycle through it.
Right. Got it. Got
Let's
it.
let's
And
let's eliminate
we
faster.
we talked about that actually last night, about making sure that this is a piece. I mean, you've got to take an interest, vested interest in who you're going to have your life partner with, right? Who you're
100
going to have.
100%.
Right. And then why are we not, like you said, you're doing all this stuff for interviews, you're doing all this stuff to get this job. Why are we not doing background checks? Why are we not doing, our due diligence in order to find out who this person is? I mean, a background check takes about $30. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't got
Not
to vet.
even, not even. Send me a DM, guys. Send me a DM. Not even.
You don't even have to go. I mean, it
One
doesn't take
dollar.
that much.
DM
Right.
me real quick. $1.
Right. And cancel your trial.
Like, let's have okay.
Yeah.
You know?
So
So
yeah.
yeah, it's there's not enough homework being done. And there's also, I'm not here to blame anybody, just the guys. It's not enough knowing what you want. I sit there
That's
at the table sometimes with women and they're telling me this and they're telling me that, and I'm like, that's not adding up. I've had a friend of mine, she makes really good money.
mm-hmm.
Told me she don't need a man with money. I said, okay, no problem. I don't agree with that. I think you don't need a man with a lot of money, but you
Right.
need a man with money.
You-
She said, no, 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 there's no way. Okay. I was like, all right. She's like, I got my own money. I'm like, all right, cool. No problem. I'll just wait for the train to crash. And I know that sounds crazy, but like
Yeah.
I usually don't speak on something when I don't see like a clear, definitive like reason to say it. So her and I would go out to eat, and we would drop sometimes at lunch maybe 180, $200.
Yeah.
Not every time, but
Yeah.
enough. Other times, maybe, 60, 70, but we're doing this multiple times a week.
Mm-hmm.
So next thing I know, she calls me and she's like, you were right. And I'm like, what happened? She's like, oh, um, we went out to Applebee's and he didn't pay the bill and said that he expected me to pay it because he only had $20. And I was like, oh, okay. Because that's not surprising to me, right? Because she already told
Right.
me. So I was like, okay, so did you pay it? And she's like, well, yeah, but then I blocked him. And I was like, why did you block him? And
Yeah.
she, oh, well, because he didn't pay the bill. He just expected me to pay it. And I was like, but you had the one with the most money. You said,
You didn't need a man with money.
so then what's the problem? And she was like, well, I
Right.
expect him to pay for the meals. And I was like, you expect him to pay for your bougie budget of meals? And she was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
we're at Applebee's. And I'm like, $80 is still a lot for somebody making $35,000.
Right.
You're
Yep.
making $200,000. That the $80 meal is like a lunch snack, or like a break, like a Kit Kat bar, in the long short of it.
Right. Right.
So then, at that point, she sort of realized that I wasn't saying it because I said she should use someone. I was saying it because it's going to be hard. There was another trip that was planned, and same thing. He needed the upfront money to put down on the trip. And so the long story short is that I was just trying to express that what she said she wanted and what she
But
actually wanted were not a
yeah,
match.
absolutely. And women do that a lot. It's done a lot, right? It is done a lot. I just want to thank you. If anyone is on and they have any questions, Crystal has shared her human trafficking experience that she had when she was about 13. She shared that with us. She shared her book, which is called Girl, You Need a Drink. She gave us the gems of the acronym of what drink stands for. And I'm just going to run it down real quick. You need a person that is a man that is driven. You need a man that is receptive, intelligent, noble, and kind. I absolutely love that drink because we need that tall drink of that, right? We need a tall drink of that. So I absolutely love that. And just kind of giving us the motivation and inspiration. I love that you're motivating and inspiring women to seek out what it is that they want, and really kind of pinpoint and pin down or drill down what it is that you want, and except for the things that are actually coming out of your mouth, sit down with yourself, figure it out what it is that you really, really want. And she shared with us about having the spa and how that helps so many women. I absolutely love all of that. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I want to talk to you before we end the show. I want you to stay on for a little bit,
Okay.
but I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of things. But I just want to thank you so much for being here, sharing your gems, sharing your story, because it does. A lot of people don't think that it matters, but it does matter. And gosh, I'm so happy and so grateful to God that you are here and still here to be able to tell your story, because it is important for women, men, whoever's out there, to speak their story and have a voice for the voiceless. And that's kind of what I do. I try to speak for the voiceless because there's a lot of people that want to say something. They're just not bold enough to say it. They don't have the strength or the boldness or the courage yet to say it. So I kind of fill in the gaps, right? So
Right.
I just want to thank you for that. Do you have any parting words that you want to give? Anything that you want to say? Where can we get your book? All of that.
Yes. So the last thing that I want to say is, in the beginning, when I first started sharing this story, my friends advised me not to because they felt like I would be judged or people would have horrible things to say or think about me.
Mhm.
And so I had to think about that. And I decided that I would rather like go through hell in my truth than to go through hell in quiet if it wasn't going
Right.
to benefit anybody. Um,
Right.
and so I also felt that anyone who cannot accept me for 100% of who I am. What I've been through is what makes me the person I am today. So you cannot
Absolutely.
love me today and be concerned with what made me this.
Right.
And so I'm unapologetic. I chose to live that way the last 3 years of my life, and it has been a bumpy road, but
Mhm.
I am the happiest I've ever been in my life.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to say?
Yes, so the my first submission of the book to Amazon, unfortunately, I'm just being transparent, was rejected for some errors that needed to be corrected. But it will be available on March 15th.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yes, we definitely, if you want to come back on and share with the guests about the book again, we can definitely do that. Absolutely. I'm open to that. So, just let me know. I'm
Absolutely, I
here
would
to
love to.
support you. Yeah, I'm here to support
I'll
you.
read a couple of excerpts for you.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll do that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, just let me know. So you guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. It is Diamond J with Beyond the Glitter, and you know how we do it. We go beyond the surface of the glam, the glitz and the glam, and we kind of get down and we kind of get down and dirty with it, and we try to figure out what's going on in our stories and get with the raw. So I love that. If you are seeking, next month, you guys, is my birthday month. So it is going to be, y'all, I'm gonna be showing out. I'm gonna be showing out. I mean, that's just what it is. It's just what I'm gonna do. Okay. So y'all follow me as you are doing on Facebook. You're following me on YouTube. You're following me on TikTok. And so most of my stuff is gonna be on that. But I'm about to be getting ready for my trip. Okay. So I'm about to be on this boat, doing the thing, I'm about to be doing it up good. So you guys follow me. I got some free stuff that's coming out this month because it's my birthday month. And everybody that knows me knows that I dedicate my birthday to a charity. So this month it's going to be the homeless. We will be collecting donations. You can send your donations in to lead her to the number 2, and you can donate your donations to that. And we're going to, and I always do it at my age, which is 47. So we'll be feeding and helping 47 homeless people.
I
So
love
I look
that.
forward to do that. It's called the Diamond J Birthday Project. Y'all join me. Y'all help me like y'all do every year. I really appreciate you. Trishana says, yay, yay, yay. Trishana, I don't know if you just joined. Thank you so much for joining. Did you have any questions or anything that you want to mention? I know you probably popped in, probably at work or so, but did you have any questions or anything?
Hi.
Trishana, I don't know if you seen or popped in, but Crystal is a survivor of human trafficking. Survivor of human trafficking, and she was just dropping some gems on what her story is, what she's been through, and how she came out of that. And then she wrote a book about it. So, I mean, a book about what women actually need. So, actually, appreciate that, right? Nope, no questions. All right, girl. Thank you so much, Trishana, for joining. I appreciate it. We are signing off. Until next time, I will probably see you next week on Wednesday. Thank
Oh,
you. Did you see that we got the memo? You see
thank
that we
you.
got the memo, right? I
We
mean, it
got
just
the
happens
memo.
like that, right? And when you on one accord, I mean, it just happens, right? So thank you so much for that. We are
It's
signing
giving.
off. Yes, it's giving. We are absolutely signing off. We appreciate you joining. If you tune in, we are in on Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. All right. All right. We'll see you beyond the glitter. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.